Welcome to Bags Inside Out at the Victoria and Albert Museum. One of the earliest objects in the exhibition is this burse used at the time of Elizabeth I. This burse is a beautiful example of Elizabethan embroidery, but is also a very functional object. The bag contained the silver matrix of the Great Seal of England. This seal was quite large and it was used to make seal wax impressions. This, as you can see here on display, were used to be attached to documents and proclamation and writs. It was like a stamp of approval, almost like a visual signature of the monarch's approval. What is also extraordinary about this object and about this display is the fact that for the first time we're displaying together the burse and the portrait miniature of one of Elizabeth I's keeper of the Great Seal. Here you see a portrait by Nicholas Hilliard of Christopher Hatton, and you see him standing surrounded by the symbols of his power, and one of the symbols is actually the burse for the Great Seal, there on the table on his right. It's very tiny, but you can see how important for the portrait, for his status, this burse is. One of the most coveted bags in today's fashion world is the Birkin bag. It's a remarkable object. This bag was made in 1984 for British singer Jane Birkin. She was sitting on a plane from Paris to London, and she complained to the man sitting next to her about the fact that she couldn't find a leather bag big enough that she liked, with pockets and compartments. And actually she was sitting next to a Mess CEO, and they started to sketch ideas about a new bag on the paper bags you find on airplanes. And here it came the first Birkin ever made. This is a very well-used object. As you can see, it has signs of wear and tears. Jane Birkin was using it extensively. She even personalized it with different stickers. And actually, we can see at the front residue of adhesive from the stickers she used to apply to the front of the bag. It also bears her initial, JB, and is equipped with a very long strap, something that you don't see in Birkins nowadays. She was using it on an everyday basis, and a few years later, from the first moment that this bag was made, the Birkin became a global phenomenon. A very British it bag is the Mulberry Bayswater. This specific bag was famously worn by Kate Moss. Kate Moss has been often seen carrying Mulberry Bayswater both in her private life and also attending fashion shows. The one on display is in a typical black collar and shimmering surface. It's a very interesting type of leather, and it's the typical Bayswater shape, almost like a luggage with a top handle and distinctive hardware. This is a dispatch box. This one in particular was used by Winston Churchill in 1921 when he was Secretary of State of the Colonies. This very structured and sturdy bag, it's made out of wood and it's covered in leather. It was used to contain and to preserve and to keep safe confidential documents, and is still used nowadays by ministers. This was one of at least 7 boxes that Winston Churchill owned. This is because, of course, the amount of paperwork and documents that go in and out of his office, he needed more than one box. The lock is unpickable and is placed at the bottom of the box, while the handle is at the opposite side. This is another layer of security, because in this way it is impossible to forget to lock the box. We have here a really extraordinary example of an early surreal bag design. This frog purse from the 17th century is extremely detailed and finely made. We have the 4 legs, but also very detailed eyes, and even the skin of the frog is rendered in many details. This frog purse was a sweet purse, was used to carry perfumed herbs and or small gift. So really interesting to see how a trend that we think is probably much more recent of a whimsical and surreal bag shape actually started much early. Bags are a statement for what we are, what we stand for, and what we believe in. And many bags have been used throughout history to showcase our political ideas, our artistic statement, and even mottos. And here in this section, you have a variety of bags where the surface has been used almost like a blank canvas for important messages. And one very key object in this case is the anti-slavery reticule. This is a half-finished reticule, a half-finished bag. We don't have the hardware on top and the handle, but we see the silk that was used to make the bags. It's called an anti-slavery bag because it was used by women in Birmingham in 19th century to campaign for the abolition of slavery. It's a very important piece because it showcases how activism can come from also a piece of clothing, in this case, a bag. Bags are very sculptural objects. They are three-dimensional and they've been used by designers and artists as a ground for collaboration and creating some very unique pieces. Here on display we have a variety of different types of collaboration, and I want to focus for a moment on one of the most contemporary pieces we have on show here, and this is a collaboration between a British designer, Beth and Laura Wood, and the Italian brand Valextra. The designer was asked to reinterpret the handle of a typical Valextra handbag, the Easyday design, and Beth and Laura Wood decided to reinterpret the wiggly lines and to create a series of different type of handles. Here we have also some of the prototypes that she realized in paper. She was inspired by Edoardo Paolozzi's Sinuous lines, and she worked in paper first and then sent the technical drawing to the manufacturer in Italy, and you see the result of the final bag.